going on, YouTube? James here. Welcome back to James Talks Movies, where today we are going to be looking back at every single movie that came out this year, because it is now the new year. It is 2025, and so Happy New Year to everyone. I hope this year goes very well for all of you guys, and you try new things, have new experiences, and watch a lot of good movies. But before we begin to look at the movies from 2025 that are coming out, we gotta remember all the movies that came out in 2024 and which ones are the best ones. There are a lot of ranking videos online already that are like top 10 this, top 10 worst, top 10 best, top 20 this. Not on this channel, you people. Today, I am gonna be ranking all 58 movies I saw this year from worst to best. And yeah, I saw a lot of variety of movies. So I'm excited to talk about all of them. Also, before I begin, I would like to mention that, of course, this is just my ranking of all these movies. There are lots of genres of movies out there, and with different themes and messages, and depending who you are, your background, and kind of what connects with you, you're gonna like different movies from other people. So I would just like I say in all my ranking videos, be respectful in the comments down below of my ranking, and if other people put their rankings in the comments, be respectful of them as well. We all love movies, and we all love to talk about them, so that's just something to love, that we get to kind of see what connects with other people and what doesn't. But yes, guys, also one more thing before we jump into ranking all 58 of the movies. There are a lot of movies that did come out this year that I didn't get to see all of them. I didn't have a chance to see all of them, or I didn't see some for certain reasons. So before we begin with my ranking, I want to just acknowledge the movies that I didn't see, so then you guys aren't wondering why a certain movie was not on the list. And those movies that I didn't see are Memoir of a Snail, Late Night with the Devil, Argyle, Craven the Hunter, Godzilla X Kong: A New Empire, Amelia Perez, Night Swim, Madam Web, Ricky Stenicki. Though I did watch about 10 minutes of Ricky Stenicki and then turned it off. It was that bad. Atlas, Kinds of Kindness, A Real Pain, Nickel Boys, I Saw the TV Glow, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, Deadpool and Wolverine, Baby Girl, Night, Megalopolis, Small Things Like These, Civil War, Blitz, Piano Lesson, Cabrini, Heretic, The Outrun, Y2K, Harold and the Purple Crayon, Nutcrackers, Blink Twice, Wolves, Gladiator 2, Trap, A Different Man, Smile 2, Will and Harper, Venom: The Last Dance, Longlegs, Don't Move, The Order, Dear Santa, Alien Romulus, Conclave, My Old Ass, Terrifier 3, Rebel Ridge, Cattle Lake, Saturday Night, Joker Folly Ado, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, The Substance, Challengers, The Fire Inside, Noah, An American Saga Part 1 and 2, Sing Sing, Dee Dee, Dune Part 2, and Flow. So yes, those are the movies that I didn't watch this year. But like I said, I did watch 58 movies that we are about to rank. So what are my ranking of all 58 movies that I did see this year? Let's see. Coming in at number 58, we have the Book of Clarence. Now, this is a biblical comedy that is just really confusing to the audience, first of all, because it makes up a lot of the characters and a lot of situations that were supposed to be happening in the Bible, but they just made a lot of this stuff up, and it disrespects God and kind of the Bible and the Christianity in a lot of ways. No way, Jose. I am racist. Now, this is a movie that you either love or you hate. This is a mockumentary comedy that stars Matt Walsh, who is a racial activist. And in this movie, you have him kind of trying to prove a point about racial discrimination by using like real situations that has happened in the past regarding racial discrimination that just didn't sit with me using real life situations. It just kind of felt disrespectful to the actual that actual subject. And yeah, I didn't love this one. Coming in at number 56, we have Uglies. Now, this movie is a kind of a post-apocalyptic movie that just was very cliched and did not have a lot to it. And the message of the movie also did not come together like I thought it could have. Coming in at number 55, we have Hot Frosty, a Hallmark movie that does not do anything at least a little bit creative or funny that really entertained me. And also it just lots of the humor that it did have, it felt really cringy. Not for me whatsoever. I do like Hallmark Christmas movies though. Spaceman, a movie where characters just made decisions that just did not really sit with me, and it didn't really play into its premise and themes and ideas as much as I think that it could have. Therefore, it's not my favorite movie. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Lots of people like this movie. This is my first hot take of the movie. Of this video. I didn't like it. I just thought like lots of the new characters introduced in here were really boring. It was very slow. And I don't think the apes themselves can carry the whole movie themselves. It's kind of more interesting when you add the humanity aspect to it, like the other Planet of the newer trilogy of Planet of the Apes movies did. Next up, we have Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks story. Now, why did I think it would be interesting to have Sandy Cheeks have a horror movie? I don't know, but it wasn't. It was very, very, very weird. At least it's memeable. Descendants, The Rise of Red. Now, there are one or two good songs in here, I would say. Set it up! Go berserk! But this movie, while it does also have good set design, I just wish that the script in it was finished. Twisters. Now, the first Twisters I did really enjoy. Kind of a fun popcorn, turn your brain off movie. But I don't feel like this sequel lived up to the original. It just didn't really play into its premise, and that's kind of what you want from a popcorn flick, just to live up to the idea and make it as fun as possible. And I don't think that is what this movie did. Young Woman and the Sea. Now, part of it is sports movies are not really my thing. I'm not really a sports fan. And this movie just did not do anything different or interesting at all. This is based off a true story, and those movies have really high potential to kind of learn something interesting about people we didn't know about. This movie did not really have me interested to learn more about the story after the movie, though. So, yeah. The idea of you. Now, if the romance in here was kind of developed a little bit more and we got a little more suspense up until the romance in here happened, I feel like it could have worked a little bit more. It just comes off as really rushed and overall really creepy. Sight. This is a real faith-based movie of the video. And this is kind of like a young woman in the sea situation where there are good elements in it. I feel like lots of the dialogue between the characters can be really funny at times. But the true story itself, I just didn't find that interesting. And lots of the faith-based aspects, I don't think were really that realized, and I just wasn't feeling this one at all. Red One! It feels like it's made by AI. It's the only good thing about it is Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans and J.K. Simmons are in it, and that's pretty much it. It's really generic. Mufasa the Lion King. Now, this movie, for context, I am a big Lion King fan. Lion King is one of my favorite movies. But this is a prequel to not the original 1994 Lion King, but a prequel to the live-action 2019 Lion King, which I felt like was a little weird, and yes, it is. The characters are not that interesting. There are a few good laughs in here, but lots of the decisions in here, as a Lion King fan, I didn't find to be all that good. And lots of the songs also in here really did not stick with me after the movie was over. Homestead. Now, this is our second Angel Studios movie on the list, so it's a faith-based movie. And unlike Sight, the faith-based aspect in here of letting God provide, hope that God's gonna provide during difficult times in here, is in here, and it's really good. I do feel like it was a little rushed at the end, though. Like the writers kind of forgot that that was supposed to be kind of the main message of it, so it just felt really rushed and kind of one of those by the numbers Christian movies that we get quite a lot. Also, I think part of it is the post-apocalyptic nature of it is usually not really my thing. Unfrosted. This Netflix comedy is a really silly one. It's a little too silly for its own good, though. The Six Triple 8. Now, this is another movie that is based off a true story. It's about women who went into the military in 50s or 60s era and were tasked to get a bunch of letters that were backlogged up in their military base and get them out into the families that are wondering where their loved ones are and if they're okay during the war. This movie is very generic. The dialogue is not that interesting, characters that aren't that interesting, and you have this movie that's really all over the place that doesn't know what it wants to be. It's half a drama, but also half a romance comedy, and I don't think those two really mix, and it just kind of took away from the overall focus of the story of what I thought this movie should be. Orion and the Dog. This movie is a Netflix animated movie. And the third act, I think, has some very creative elements. I just wish that the rest of the movie lived up to that third act. It's kind of a forgettable one for me. Spellbound! I feel like the ideas and themes of love and kind of not letting the darkness get the best of you and kind of moving on during very difficult times is a very good message in here. But the rest of it is just kind of a very generic fairy tale comedy musical type of thing. Damsel! Now, I didn't get to really review this movie on my channel, but basically, does this movie have really good character development and interesting characters? No. Is it fun to watch Millie Bobby Brown kind of fight a dragon for like half the movie? Yes. The Garfield movie. Now, this movie's fine. It's totally watchable for kids. I just felt the kind of adventure that we're going on was a little pointless and was not that interesting, and it kind of has some side plots that I felt really didn't have a lot to do with the main story that they were going on, that just felt really random. Chris Pratt as Garfield, though, he does pretty good at it, I gotta say. Thelma the Unicorn. So, this is another movie that is totally watchable for kids. And it has some bright and colorful animation style, and it's just imaginative enough, and the message is good enough to where I can say I enjoyed this one. The message is about fame and kind of what it can do to you if you don't if you let the fame get to your head. And I just think that's a really good message for kids, especially those who want to get into the public eye, like be a YouTuber or film director or stuff like that. Kung Fu Panda 4. This movie just does not live up to the other three Kung Fu Panda movies. The Kung Fu action is not that interesting. In here, the animation, style of the Kung Fu just isn't as, artistic, as well as the new characters in here, are just not that interesting, and the story is very predictable. But Jack Black as Poe is really fun, and you still have some pretty good moments in here. I just don't think it lived up to the original three at all. The greatest hits. Now, this is a girl whose boyfriend died of it, sadly, and through the power of music, she's able to kind of relive some moments that she remembers from those songs in the past. And this movie had a really good premise. I love music, and I love knowing a lot about what the power of music can do to you. I love thinking about all of that. And this movie had a lot of cool, interesting concepts, but I don't think it really got to the meat and potatoes of all those concepts until the third act. Most of the movie, it just tries to spend a lot of the time being a romance comedy, and I just didn't think it quite worked. It didn't live up to the premise, and I love movies that live up to the premise. Here, this is a movie starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and is directed by Robert Zemeckis. Those three worked on Forrest Gump together, and Forrest Gump is a really good movie. This movie is not. It's just, again, a movie that did not live up to its premise, and had a lot of interesting ideas, but just didn't focus on the right stuff, therefore not making it that interesting. Maria. Angelina Jolie in here is giving a really good performance, almost an Oscar-worthy performance, may I add, but this movie had, its artistry was really good in here, as well. Its set design, the way it's told now, just didn't connect with me personally at all. Sound of Hope, the Possum Trot story. This movie does a really good job of showing kind of the care home system, or the not care home, foster home system, and kind of seeing a good light on what it's like for the kids to kind of come into a family that they've never met before, and just accept it as their new parents, even though technically they're just not their real parents. It's a very sad thing to think about, and this movie makes you think about that, and it has some pretty good moments, but the story and characters just doesn't stick with me like movies above this movie does. Your number 2. This movie is a new movie directed by Clint Eastwood. And lots of people love this movie. I think this is like my second unpopular opinion of this video. I didn't love this movie. Courtroom drama, mystery type movies are not really my thing. But I do think that this movie is well told and has some good drama aspects to it that really does show what it's like to be a juror, and kind of what it's like to be kind of caught up in the decision making of the crimes that get committed from time to time. Our Little Secret. This is another Netflix Hallmark Christmas movie that does work because of its interesting, fun premise, and its two charismatic leads. However, I do think it takes a couple detours from the actual plot that by the end makes you wanting a little bit more. Moana 2. This is a movie that is very obviously a movie that was made from an actual TV show to a movie. They translated it, and you can definitely tell with this movie. But there are all some hints of some good Polynesian lore and new character moments in here that I think could have been fleshed out a little bit more, and it would have been interesting to learn a little bit more about it. Unsung Hero. The message is kind of basic and kind of feels like a message, while it's well told, a message that we've heard in a lot of other Christian movies. But I really liked learning a lot about the Smallbone family and kind of seeing their dynamic. I think that was a very sweet element. I think this movie is a really creative movie. If is a movie that has lots of interesting ideas, but it's tonally all over the place because of its two subject matters of on one hand it's a family drama, and on the other hand it's a kind of a musical comedy type of movie, and I feel like those two in this movie didn't really mix. It was trying to be kind of like a live action Pixar movie, but I think Pixar mixes dramatic and kind of more fun elements a little bit better than If did. Fun cast though, they did a really good job. We Live in Time. Now, this movie, the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh in here, I think is really good. And lots of really good cinematography shots. So if you just like movies with people, a couple kind of hanging out and learning about each other, I think you would have a really good time with this movie. The structure of it, for me, did not do it any favors. I think it's too snapshotty, and because of that, we don't get enough moments, or enough of the moments to kind of flesh out the meaning behind everything and kind of get into the nitty-gritty of all the subject matter in the film. A complete unknown. This movie is a movie where the whole cast, including lead star Timothée Chalamet, does a really good job. It's impressive how much Timothée Chalamet sounds like Bob Dylan and acts like Bob Dylan, though I only have seen a few clips and songs from him. But it's just a movie that I feel like could have gone into a little bit more of a subject matter, and I feel like it just kind of gave me the same feeling that all these other music biopics do. But also part of that could be also that I'm not in the era that Bob Dylan was most famous, so that's probably that I don't really have that nostalgia factor from it. That's Christmas. Now, this movie is basically a family hanging out and kind of their adventures during Christmas time. You get a lot of different types of family members, like members from India, and just a lot of people with different races, and it's a movie that just really shows how Christmas time can really be. They add a little bit of adventure in it, so it's not like the most out there amazing Christmas movie. I feel like they could have added a little bit more Christmas lore to it to make it a little bit more interesting, but to get you in the holiday spirit, this movie does a really good job. Reagan! Now, this movie kind of feels like one of those movies that you just kind of turn on to teach kids, younger kids of Ronald Reagan, and it kind of just going through the beats of his life. But it has a good performance by Dennis Quaid, a couple good laughs in here, and so I think it's a pretty good biopic. I do think it could have gone a little bit more into him though. Bob Marley, One Love. This movie follows kind of the same musical biopic formula, but I feel like lots of the drama in here is a little bit more fleshed out. And just learning about the kind of guy Bob Marley was is really interesting. We get to see that more of that in here than we did in A Complete Unknown with Bob Dylan. Yeah, it's really good. I do wish though that we got to see a little bit more of his childhood and his growing up, which we didn't really get to see in this one. Jim Henson, Idea Man. Now, this is a documentary directed by Ron Howard and is about puppeteer creator, the Muppets creator, Jim Henson. And basically, the name of the movie lives up to its premise. It shows a lot of Jim Henson's creative side and the ideas that he kind of had. And I learned a lot about him and stuff that he created that I didn't even know about. But I do wish it got into a little bit more of his drama of his life and kind of the stuff that kind of held him back from certain situations. Arthur the King, a very realistic look on the bond between a human and a dog, and it has some pretty fun adventure moments in here as well that just makes it a really fun movie for the whole family. Not lots of character development for lots of the side characters though, which kind of makes the movie take a little bit for it to get going. But other than that, I quite enjoyed this one. Society of the Snow. This movie is a movie that usually is not really my cup of tea. Survival movies and kind of blood and all this intense stuff, I'm usually not that much into. However, I do think that this movie does really good, and when I watched it, I was actually pretty engaged. It's a very realistic and gritty look at what would happen if you get stuck in the mountains in the snow. And it's based on a true story too. And so I just thought this was a pleasant surprise at the beginning of the year. Transformers 1. I know, how dare I not put this movie in the top 15, but I actually do think that this movie is a little tad overrated. But that's just kind of like because the Transformers movies are not really my thing. But I do think that this movie has a couple good laughs. I feel like the story is a little generic. But I do think they did a really good job of showing the bond between Optimus Prime and Megatron in here, which still made it a really good time. And the cast in here of all the well-known actors did really good as well. A Quiet Place Day 1. Now, this is another movie that I feel like at its surface, its structure is kind of generic. But it's a movie that deals with the themes and ideas of like what would you do with your last life. I mean, with your last few moments in your life. Like when you think you're about to die, what would you do, and like how would you go about living those last final moments? And I feel like that this movie explored that pretty well. Woman of the Hour. This movie is directed by Anna Kendrick. First time director Anna Kendrick. And this movie is kind of a psychological thriller that is based on a true story as well. And this is kind of a movie that's very different for Anna Kendrick. She usually does comedies and musicals most of the time, but no, she's directing this thriller, and she does a really good job of doing so. It's kind of a movie that's kind of by the numbers and kind of goes beat by beat without doing that many different twists in it. But I don't think it's a movie that really needed that. The story itself just speaks for itself, and it's kind of a movie that doesn't really need anything else that visually or script wise to make it more interesting than it actually is. Music by John Williams. If you guys don't know, John Williams is a music composer, one of the most famous musical composers in the world. He composed the Harry Potter soundtrack, Home Alone, all those types of movies, E.T. So, you get to learn a little bit more about him. And I just like John Williams, and I got to learn more about him and some surprising facts and learn some surprising things that he scored that I didn't even know that he did. Learn a little bit more about his background, and yeah, I love this documentary. It honored him well. The Wild Robots. Now, this is another movie that I feel is just a tad overrated. But that is half because of my age, probably. I'm 18, and so I'm not a parent. See, when with this movie, the themes and ideas in here is about parenting and kind of learning to let go of your child and learning how to kind of, when you're with them, learn to grow them into the human you want them to become. And while it didn't speak to me like it would to a parent, I still found that dynamic pretty sweet in here. Lots of the jokes in here I found pretty funny. It was pretty dark comedy for an animated movie. I was not expecting that, but made me laugh, and lots of the visual storytelling in here is also very well done. Whiteboard. Now, this is a World War II type of movie that is about kindness, and that's the main message of it. And lots of people might say that the main message is pretty preachy in here about the kindness and love and all this type of stuff. But with the melodramatic kind of feel and tone to it, I think it quite worked. And the visual style in here for some of the scenes, I feel like worked pretty well as well. But I do also find that some of the characters and the structure of it to kind of be generic. And that's probably why it's not as high on my list as it could be. Ordinary Angels. Now, this movie is a true story about a woman helping out a family in need, and there is a lot of stuff that is going down in this family that is very sad, and it all explores it very well. And the themes and ideas in here about kindness again, and kind of helping each other in need and helping whatever the cost, because you never know what someone else is going through. So it's always important to kind of be attentive and kind of be there for one another. And we don't get to see a lot of movies with that message, so I really appreciated that in this movie. We got Hilary Swank and Alan Richardson in here in the two main roles. They do a really good job. And also lots of the characters' backstories, or at least some of them, all kind of all fleshed out, and so we get to learn about them. And so yeah, I thought this movie was a really good watch. Fly Me to the Moon. This movie kind of takes the idea that the whole moon landing was a ploy, was fake. There's a conspiracy theory that's been going on for years that the moon landing is fake. It was televised, it was filmed on a set, all this kind of stuff. I don't feel like I believe that, but I'm glad that that conspiracy theory exists, because it made for a pretty good movie. The structure of the kind of romantic comedy in here is pretty by the numbers. But it's just really fun to see what they can do with this creative idea. There is a lot of jokes in here making fun of the film industry and stuff like that. Lots of the characters are very charismatic. They have all different personalities. That makes it really fun to watch. Yeah, so I pretty enjoyed Fly Me to the Moon. Superman, the Christopher Reeves story. Relatable to a certain extent. That's all I gotta say. Out of my mind. Even more relatable. Sonic 3. You get to see a lot more of the group of Sonic, Tails, Knuckles hanging out. You get to see more of their dynamic. Jim Carrey has a bigger role in it than the other ones, I feel like, so you get to see more of his ability to do cartoonish, silly humor, which is really fun. Lots of the gags are really creative in here. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. The underlying theme of believing in yourself and not letting struggles get to your head and moving past them is something that is a good message for kids and adults alike. I really enjoyed it. It ends with us. This movie is a movie kind of about domestic violence and kind of how it's important to be nice to one another and love one another, because it can just make something way more complicated than it needs to be, unless we just all get along. And it's also important that we don't show younger generation the trauma and stuff that we could go through, or else they themselves may be traumatized basically for no reason. And I feel like that whole dynamic is really well explored in here, as well as this is also a good like romantic comedy movie. It's kind of more of a chill romantic comedy, not lots going on. There's a lot of just hanging out and kind of getting to learn about these characters and kind of what they like. But it's a movie that I found to be pretty interesting. The best Christmas pageant ever. Basically, this is gonna be on my watch list for every Christmas. It does a really good job of showing the true Christmas story and what Christmas is all about, and the growth in all the characters that we meet in the film, and all of it is explored very well. Definitely puts you in the Christmas mood. The Fall Guy. This is a movie that is about stuntman and stunt performers in movies, and we don't get to see a lot of that in today's cinema. So that was really good to kind of get to pay them respect in this movie and kind of see what they do. This movie is directed by a former stuntman himself, David Leitch, and so all the stunts that we see in here are not green screen. They are completely real, and they do some intense stuff, and they kind of pay respect to the movie industry as a whole as well in this movie, and that adds up for some pretty good laughs, and obviously I really enjoy that because I'm a film critic, wanting to be a film director in the future. Emily Blunt plays a film director in here very well, and Ryan Gosling is in here as well, and those two kind of have a romantic comedy type of plot line going on in this movie that is very fun to watch and play out. And yeah, it's just a movie that if I want to watch a fun movie and kind of get a high octane movie with some sweet elements, I'm gonna watch this one. Thelma! Okay, so this is a underrated movie, and it should be nominated at least for Best Original Screenplay. Are we gonna get that? I don't think so. But June Squibb is also very good in this movie. Kicking off my top 3 favorite movies of 2024, we have The Forge. Now, this is another Christian movie that is from the Kendrick brothers, who previously directed the movie War Room. And this is kind of a continuation of War Room. We have the same characters in here as War Room, and it's just kind of fun to see that kind of connection of that film in here. But that's not what makes this film really great, in my opinion. What makes this film great is its messaging and the way it tells its messaging in a very honest and thought-provoking way. It's about discipleship and kind of showing up for other people and showing up for what you're called to do, and whether that's doing a job that you have here or on a deeper level, it talks about showing up for God and kind of discipling others to learn how to follow him more. But even if you guys are not of faith, I think that this movie is still a really good movie about friendship and being there for others and showing them how to be the best version of themselves that they can be. The main kid that's in this movie, I forgot his name, but he plays a character named Isaiah. You get to really see his inner struggle, and this kid who plays Isaiah is really good at showing all these emotions, and it's honestly one of my favorite performances of the year. There are some obvious like setups for things that are just setups to set up certain messages and certain conversations to start talking about those messages that make it a little bit cheesy. And as well, the last 10 to 15 minutes don't really need to be there and are kind of are not that interesting, or at least that's not as interesting as the rest of the film. But other than that, that's my main like two critiques of the movie. Overall, I think that this movie is great. Coming in at number 2, we have Inside Out 2. And this is my number 2 spot for the same reasons lots of people are saying. This movie is surprisingly, for an animated film, a really deep exploration of emotions and kind of what different kinds of emotions we have when we grow up. It's a very funny movie. It's a movie that has some good visuals to visualize the emotions like anxiety. The first time I actually saw this movie, because of the really good visualizations of anxiety, this movie kind of gave me anxiety after I watched the movie. For whether you think that's for better or worse, I think that it's really cool because it made me think about how these emotions and how emotions work together even more than the first movie. I think Inside Out is still slightly better than Inside Out 2 in my opinion, just because it's more fun and it's more able to explore dreams and all these fun ideas. Inside Out 2 is more of a mature film, but I still really enjoyed it. But coming in at number 1, to no surprise if you have been paying attention to what's not on this list so far, or if you know me at all, you would know that my favorite movie of the year is Wicked. This movie, I don't even know where to begin. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are very good in their two roles. The cinematography in here is very beautiful, and the underlying themes of friendship, inclusivity, not in a weird way, and also governmental power in here is very well done, all explored kind of by the end of the film, and it's just a film that makes you think about things. It's a film that entertains you because of the comedy aspects in here, and the songs from Stephen Schwartz. If you know the musical, the original stage musical, you would know that the songs are also very good, very well written. As someone that really didn't like the stage show for a number of reasons, I was really pleasantly surprised by Wicked. But anyways, guys, that is just my list of the all my films that I saw in 2024. I would want to know your ranking of every single film you watched this year, or at least your top few favorite movies. So then in the comment section down below, we can have a nice discussion about all the films this year and kind of which ones connected with us and the ones that didn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button after you subscribe so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. If you think that there are other people that you know this year that would love my channel, I encourage you guys to share my channel with those who you think would love my videos. just so we can get more and more people on this channel this year, so then we can continue and grow this fan base that we already have to with more people to talk about more movies. I think that it would be really great, but in order to do that, I need you guys to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment all your thoughts. But yeah, anyways, guys, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.